How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good, good.
How are you?
I'm really good. Really, really good. I'm having some camera problems, but it's okay now, I think. Uh
Okay.
yeah. So what seems to be happening, Jonathan?
So what seems to be happening is well, I booked this meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
It was sort of a needed life raft situation
Oh,
from
okay.
someone.
Okay.
It was very strange. Well, I guess not so strange, but it was I would like now 24 hours later, I would just call it a glimpse.
Yeah.
But I guess you would call it just this as usual.
Just this. Yeah.
But yeah, I was doing a yoga class
Okay.
and just felt really, in contact with my body and my
Yeah.
sensations. It felt
Yeah.
great.
Good.
And then on my way home, uh, before yeah, it was dark outside, late in the
Yeah.
evening,
Hmm.
and there was just a bed of leaves on the ground. And I just stood there looking at the leaves for I don't know how long, because it was just mesmerizing.
Hmm.
It was just, you know, very beautiful as it can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that was cool, I guess. And then I went inside. I had dinner, and something felt slightly different, or something just felt
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so I just ate my dinner with no distractions, just you know, sensing
Ordinary.
myself eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't very ordinary because I felt the food in my mouth like more
Yeah.
than I ever have before.
Alive.
Well,
Like
very
aliveness.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, just a side note, when when I when I say yeah, I did feel it was very visceral,
Yeah.
but it's also like in my mind there's still images of my jaw and my teeth, the food inside my mouth. It's
Yeah.
not just sensations, it's also very subtle images, but they are very
Yeah.
clear in a way.
Yeah. 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 I get what you're
Uh,
saying. Yeah.
which yeah, I guess I'll just notice that too.
Yeah.
But it feels like it would be better if I just felt the sensations and didn't have those images.
Yeah. But that's also the case, right? You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That, if it's
Yeah.
if you really look at it without any thoughts or any idea of what's happening, they're just sensations.
Mm.
That's basically it. Everything is just a sensation. So it's very subtle, right? And the thoughts can create the magnitude of the experience or the, of how less it is. It creates this spectrum of feelings and everything about a sensation. And it's I've told this story many times. It's kind of like, when I caught my fingers in a garage door, and it turned blue and purple right away. And one of the thought that came was like, oh, I guess I might have to lose my fingers because it didn't look good, right? It
Mm.
was. And then I sat for a moment because it was so euphoric and painful. Painful was like, whoa. But at the same time, like all of the whatever, um endorphins was coming out, and it was
Yeah.
this euphoria. And I was like, I guess without calling this pain, you could call it pleasure as well.
Yeah.
And then at that time, I'm like, okay, that's why S&M people like this.
Which people?
S&M people,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have that feeling more and more when I notice. Well, I don't really have anxiety anymore. Well, I haven't
Yeah,
had it in a while at least. But sometimes I'm like, I could go for some anxiety now just to see
yeah, yeah.
just
That's
to see
it.
how this
That's it.
feels.
That's it. That's it. That's it. You know what? You're pointing it there quite clearly. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like there's a suggestion that appears when no one is holding on to that suggestion, then it just vanishes.
Mm.
I don't know if you notice it, right? And it's the same thing with like glimpses and everything, right? When someone's suggesting that I'm having this glimpse now, this is happening now. Oh, wow. That kind of thing. I wonder if
Mm.
I can maintain this. Then
Yeah.
it adds, but it's always there. You know what I'm saying? It just happened that the apparent sensation at that apparent time was very pronounced. It's it's it's
Right.
it's it's I was talking to somebody that's microdosing, with psychedelics and everything, like everything.
Mm.
And he was asking me, what's your experience like? I'm like, there's just a lot of sensations. I don't want to call it anything. And I
Mm.
said, but when the sensations are bypassed by basically just visuals of what is. Like what this morning, I think I took like 4 videos this morning. I'll post it. This morning was like an acid experience for me, right? Because the trees were just, I'm like, what is this? Right. And
Yeah.
and some people call you that it's that a glimpse. No, it's not a glimpse. It's just that the sensations seemingly cease, and and there's just this wondrous what isness that people will call a tree, or the
Mm.
the falling of the leaves and everything, and then the cold chill in the air. So all of that all together, seemingly separate, is not separate. So usually when a glimpse happens, it's you're not really seeing you're separate from that grass, or I don't know what you were looking at that you were saying earlier.
Yeah, just leaves.
Just leaves. Yeah,
Just a
yeah.
bunch of leaves.
Same here today. Today, that's what I was saying. It's just a bunch of leaves. And then I looked crazy because I was like running around in a puddle of leaves this morning.
Yeah, I was mostly standing there, but I also like brushed my shoes along the leaves. It was dark, it was late. I,
Yeah.
I noticed people just went around me because obviously that's not what people do normally. Just
Yeah.
stand there, like no headphones in, just
Yeah.
standing there.
Yeah.
But it was also, yeah, it really reminded me of a small dose mushroom trip,
It
just the
does.
overall feel.
But experiences, so let's call that an experience now, right?
Mm.
Although you're not really experiencing it, you know what? When there is no thoughts really, right? The sensations just come as this seemingly blissful moments that appear,
Yeah.
and to me, well, you know what, this is a story as well. It doesn't matter. Please don't compare. But every morning when I walk, it's just an adventure, right? So it's like the eyes open up, and I walk. And it's, you know what, for people that are witnessing, it's probably it's like, what is he talking about? He does the same thing over and over every day. Walk for about 2 hours, sit under a tree, smile, play ball with my dog, get really kind of like eyes wide open at what's happening. Even when it's gray, I marvel at the grayness of the gray. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like perfect weather all the time, because that's just another, that's a state. It's not a state. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Mm.
basically the openness to whatever it is. So at that moment, Johan was completely open to what is.
Yeah. I have those visual glimpses often. I mean, that wasn't the glimpse I was
Yeah.
actually experiencing because
Yeah.
after dinner, I just laid down on my couch to because at this point my bodily sensations were so strong. I just wanted to just be with them.
Yeah.
Um, and I started breathing heavily. Like I felt my belly so clearly. It was
Yeah.
insane. And suddenly
Yeah.
it just
Sorry, go ahead.
erupted into a full body orgasm.
Yeah.
I just I don't know what happened, but
Well,
it was
you know
pretty
what? Some
interesting.
some people will call it a Kundalini awakening.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. But that's
But
just
it
another
was
story. You know what I'm saying? That's just another
yeah.
story. The thing is that with this, um, I don't know if you've heard my story. Like, I was just lying down in bed, and I jumped out because I noticed my chest moving back and forth. I'm like, "Huh, that's what is." I didn't have words for it whatsoever. I'm just putting in words now, right? I jumped out of bed. I was like, what is that? And again, it was what I don't tell everybody. I'm telling you this in my meetings, is that it was a full body orgasm. It was
Mm.
just like I was tingling, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I think I was full of electricity and everything. And but yeah,
Yeah.
it was also seen as just, it's just and again, this is just a story. It's already
Right.
done, Johan, it's already done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's just openness already. It's not done for you, but it's always been done. It's not done as a story, you know what I'm saying? But it's always been this way.
Mm.
And this openness that seems to appear, you know what I'm saying, is what is. Not what is as a being or a source or whatever, but what is that can't be talked about,
Yeah.
that can't be really be named. And what is not separate from what it is that you are, not you as an idea, but what is appearing as this. And the less
Yeah.
words, the better it is. I don't know if you notice it. The less words in trying to express it, it's just like, oh wow. And and this openness will just come in sports, it spurts, you know, like it will just keep on seemingly appearing or not, you know what I'm saying? But it's already open. It's already open as it is. So
Yeah.
it's not an it has nothing to do with you now.
Yeah, I can see that
It's clear, huh?
it's not vividly clear,
Yeah.
but like right before the full body experience,
Yeah.
uh, I started to.
Did you feel light? It's the question. Did you feel the lightness of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, I
like
felt that for.
a contraction that was never there is gone.
Yeah, I've had that lightness feeling a lot
Yeah,
lately.
yeah.
And at this very moment, I mean, I I noticed. I, I thought I noticed like the silence, the compact silence that is talked about.
Yes.
I felt like uh, it felt like I could get in touch with it. It was just a feeling of, well, what if I focus on that thing,
Yeah,
and then yeah, and that's when the bodily sensations really started getting
yeah.
intense.
It's so
Um,
it's almost like, you know, settling in it.
mm,
It's like that wordless, just it's this, you know, and all of the cessation of the thought seems to just drop away. And it's just basically what it is. And it's just full onness, right? There's no more kind of like obstacles to what it is.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And afterwards, I just sat up, and I could still be in that space,
Yeah.
and I just I'm not feeling it now, but it was really a moment of. I mean, it can't be this. It can't be this subtle, right? It can't be this.
It's this already. It's this subtle. Yeah. It's actually very soft. It's almost
Yeah.
not there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's always been here. But at the moment of realizing it, I guess it can appear as like the leaves all of a sudden are not leaves anymore. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? That's why you were like, "What the hell is this?" It's like it's at that moment of the glimpse, or not. It's not even a glimpse. You know what I'm saying? That awakeness, that seemingly the falling away of that. It's like you have no ideas anymore of what this is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was the glimpse anyway. And yesterday evening, I was. It really felt like everything I've learned about spirituality was
yeah,
just a hindrance
it
in the form
is.
of thoughts coming, trying to
Yeah.
interpret what just happened.
Did you watch that 5 day? Some of it?
No, I never got around to it.
Oh, you never got around to it. Okay, okay, okay. Because
Um,
that's what I talk about in it. You know what I'm saying? It's all of everything that you've learned are just basically dualistic, because it's just a knowing. You know what I'm saying? All the knowing. So this is kind
mm,
of like, it's not a state, but it's a knowingness. Kind of like what you're saying right now. It's like all a hindrance. Everything that you have accumulated um is almost like a it's an obstacle. Even
yeah,
non-duality, what you know about non-duality.
Yeah, everything just felt so unimportant.
Yeah.
And normally when I hang out with friends, I hope that we will talk about, like I will have an opening to talk about what I do. But like now it was I didn't have any desires. I mean, there was nothing to talk about
Bingo.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of like funny, right? When it finally happened, it's so anticlimactic, and it's has nothing to do with you anymore, that it's you don't even talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And especially with his character, kind of like when that realization, so to speak, that there's no one to realize, basically. I did not go to the mountaintops and announce, "Hey, everyone, I'm enlightened now." Say
Mm,
it's very humbling that
mm,
everything is already. Not in a thought, not an idea of what everything is already, but something that's incomprehensible, but that realization is silent. If you don't talking about, right,
yeah.
it's just silence.
Mm, yeah. But that unfortunately that only lasted a few hours. Well, I went to bed thinking. Actually, I didn't want to go to bed because I wanted to try stuff, just do
Yeah,
things.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But then I thought, like, there's no way I won't remember this tomorrow. Like, it's so obvious.
Yeah,
And then in the morning, it felt fine. But
yeah,
then, like, I've been working today,
yeah,
9 hours,
yeah,
a lot of thoughts, and then it feels like, yeah, thoughts just come back, and now I don't remember. Well,
yeah.
I
but
know
that's
it's
but that's
just,
also it, Johan.
yeah,
Thoughts are also it. That's also what is. That's also silence. That's the same thing as the leaves. You know what I'm saying? Everything is not. There's nothing that's separate from anything. Everything is whole, and it's hard to think about that, right? But it's that's why that the moment thoughts come in, it serves as a division. It serves as
mm,
a contradiction to something that cannot be contradicted, to something that cannot be separated. It's whole and complete already, so to speak. And it's wondrous that and then I see thoughts right now as just imaginary appearances of something that cannot be imagined. So it tries to imagine itself. It tries to make
mm,
make sense of what's happening, but what's happening does not make sense. What's going on is not going on, but that does not make sense. um there's a
mm,
you, but there's no you simultaneously, if you know what I mean, right? It's empty, like there's really no Johan. um
yeah,
it's very ordinary, but seemingly in the ordinariness of this, there's spikes sometimes of like joy and blissfulness for no reason. um and it's just and it's almost whatever seems to appear, there's just an openness to it now.
yeah,
It's almost like the me broke, but it was never there really in the first place.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like the more I sometimes, well, here's the thing. I feel like I I get what you're saying, but only when I've been silent for a while and like really still. It feels like I have to tune into
yeah,
whatever this is. And then when I'm not like still anymore, when I have to do things,
yeah,
thoughts come back and I'm not, and I tune out.
yeah. Yeah, someone told me that this morning. Is like basically someone that I talked to a couple times, so I mean in one and one. And the third time basically is just to report this, like it all sank in when I was silent. Everything that was what that's being said here, right? It's like, ah.
Mm,
And then it settled now. I think the second time he had a kind of like similar experience as you. He did watch the videos though. He did watch the videos. So he said that everything that he knew fell apart. It just kind of like fell down, and he could not find it. Like he could not find any knowing. And very similar to you, he was a big a practitioner of meditation, yoga, and all that kind of stuff like that. And and similarly, he does it, but that's okay too. And if he does it, that's okay too. All right. But it's just, he goes, that there's no agency anymore. The idea that you're doing any of this is just simply an idea. The idea that you're choosing, the ideas that there's an idea is just another idea. So when the idea becomes very ephemeral and just seen as transparent and it's just what it is, then any idea that comes is just whatever it is. But it's also empty, meaning that there's really no meaning to it or anything. So even these ideas about Kundalini waking glimpses are just ideas, because what is being talked about cannot really be captured in a single word or a definition or an experience even.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he said that when after we talked on the second thing, there was a lot of silence, and then and then um and then there's just the word that he used, there was just this at easeness. He was just at ease now.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that's what usually happens. And again, this is just another story. In some of these happenings, this phenomena called, just seeing through what is, um, sometimes the me tries to come back, tries to reason out of it, because it's
Yeah.
basically being called redundant. Johan is redundant now. And it doesn't really
Mm.
matter what Johan thinks now, because it saw the the incompleteness of it, if you know what I'm saying. The not incompleteness, but insignificant of Johan.
I guess that's what I didn't see clearly. Like
Yeah,
I still throughout this thing,
yeah.
like the last 24 hours, I never stopped feeling like, well, I will say I never stopped feeling like a self, but
Okay,
whenever I try to find a self,
you can't find it.
there was nothing to find. But there
That's
was
it.
no like,
That's it. There's always going to be a feeling of a sense of separation. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
There's always without the feeling of sense of separation, you're not going to be able to talk to me right now.
right.
But there's no self already. I don't know if you see that now, right? Even this. So it's just an idea now that this is not complete yet, which is just another chatter, which is just an insignificant idea of what is. Hold on for a second, okay? I'm just going to change my earphones because it's dying. Sorry.
Yep.
And then we can go. I don't have another meeting in an hour and a half, so we can go as long as we can. We'll clear out any residue, so to speak. Just a moment.
Yeah. No worries.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah, so in the absence of thoughts, again, this is what I said to you before. In the absence of thoughts, if you're seeing this without any idea, without any thoughts, if you don't have any access to it, what are you seeing?
I don't know what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So let's just say that all thoughts are irrelevant and insignificant to what is, because that's what usually kind of like, it's just always a suggestion that there is a me or there is a self or whatever. So without any of the suggestion, without the polarity of self or no self, it's not a position. Basically, having no position, basically seeing directly and clearly what is, not even seeing it, but just that emptiness, that absence, so to speak, of any ideas of what's going on. Because that's what happens to me in the mornings when I walk, because there's just this immediacy of walking. It's almost like, because I have a dog, so she wakes me up, you know what I'm saying? We wake up and she cuddles a little bit, and then I walk, and then all of a sudden I'm in the forest or something. There's a beautiful kind of like path here and everything. And it's just completely silent. I don't really think about anything in the morning. It's just almost like a groundhog day, so to speak, right? And
Mm.
then this wondrous appearance of something that's appearing, not as anything separate from me, because that's just another thought. Even saying that I am seeing this is just putting a thought into what is being seen. That's even way too much, meaning that there's really nothing that is seeing. What's seeing this is also this, basically. What's being looked at is also what's looking. meaning that there's really no object subject. There's no separate. And then the words come in like, oh, these leaves are what are, it's beautiful. You're walking past it. You can't explain it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's inexplicable. And yet, the stories come that, did I realize something? So it's trying to make sense of something that does not make sense.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what this is that's being talked about. It does not make sense. And that's why when we first met, I said that there's nothing that I say will change this. So that subtleness, that quietness, that silence that is always present now. Do you feel it?
Yeah, I do feel
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You can't really get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Outside of an idea, it's always, you can't even put it into an idea. It's in everything. So it's in all of the ideas, this silence. It's all in all of these seeming events that happen in your life. And it renders everything that you know as pointless. It renders all the spiritual stuff that you know as irrelevant. It silences everything. It's like death, not in a bad way, but the death of, problems, the death of ideas, the death of knowing, the death of beliefs. And there might be in the story, there might be some grieving of what you've lost, but they were never there in the first place. So sometimes it can become anticlimactic.
Yeah, I felt some of that yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's almost like, how do
Definitely.
I capture this, right? And how do I maintain this and everything? If you're into meditation, you know what I'm saying, although it's not necessary, you can always feel it in that. You know what I'm saying? That's why people meditate sometimes, is they're looking for that silence, but it's already found, that it was never lost. It's always been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clear sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. But
Again, let's even go further, right? Without that idea that it's clear sometimes, does it matter if it's clear or not? If you can't compare this to anything, meaning that if you only have this, there's this illusion that there was a yesterday, a today, and a tomorrow. But what if this is all appearing simultaneously? And that's the biggest hat trick of all, right? That's how the illusion seems so perfect, is because you're like, well, I have a journal from yesterday, but you can access it, a second in the past, a month in the past, a day in the past. You can't. All those time traveling thing is just fiction, you know what I'm saying? Because there's no time to travel to. So there is going to be this sense of separation that I'm talking about, that people mistake that as a self. Is there's always going to be an experience of a character moving through time and space, but that's just an idea of you moving through time and space. There's always going to be a sense of separation, meaning that, when you walk on the ground, you're not going to feel that you're going to be able to lift your feet off the ground to move the other feet automatically, because there's no sense of separation, if there's no self, then you're like, I am the ground.
yeah.
So sometimes those apparent glimpses that happen, right? It's like you can't make of it, but it's also basically an indescribable feeling of wholeness, that there's nothing missing, that's already this. And then the moment that you stamp into an idea of what it is, like, oh, there were leaves, and I was walking around the rustling leaves, it was just perfect as it is. And then you didn't even care about what people were probably looking at you or whatever. And then when you get out of that, timelessness, so to speak, then the idea of time appears again. But this is really timeless already. That silence that you hear is it doesn't move. It's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually it's a delayed reaction, like there's nothing that I do that can change this. But the suggestion, usually what I suggest is sometimes, like it catches you off guard. Like the guy that I was talking to, he goes, I was silent and there were some doubts about what happened with the glimpses and everything. And then everything that you said, not what you said, it's in, I don't know how he described it. I'm paraphrasing right now. It's in what was communicated that cannot be communicated, so to speak, that it's already this.
Right.
Yeah.
There's like for a moment there when you talked, it was just sound.
Yeah.
It was just sound.
Exactly. It is. That's what I'm trying to say. It's nothing that I say, right? It's just really silence. It's just silence wrapped around in sound, these words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, I find it. I mean, it's pretty funny that that this game is played on
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Like, in a
And there's
way,
not
I
even a
know
self,
there's.
saying that plays it. Um, it's yeah,
Mm.
but I know what you're saying. It's a complete game. But go ahead, sorry, what you were gonna say.
No, that's it. Like on sound level, I know that whatever I say now doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But on some level, it still feels like it does matter.
Yeah, because there's always going to be a narrative in something that cannot be really be narrated. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to come up, and there's no, it's like breathing. The thoughts will come up, the ideas will come up. You know what I'm saying? Just almost like it's natural. There's nothing wrong or right about it.
Mm.
It's also what is playing with itself as a thought, as a voice, as a suggestion, as a play, as a confusion, as a whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it will just keep on appearing. And um, but when it's seen as just really insignificant, all of this stuff, then what is obviously significant, like the silence and the stillness, it's what's more profound.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's it's sometimes very clear to me that like I just do something like wash my hands
Yeah.
and I'm in like in great presence. And then it's so clear that some thought just comes up and it has to do with washing hands, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
other thought is reflected on
Yeah.
that thought.
Yeah.
And it's just so clear that, oh, it's just whatever I do seems to produce thoughts related to what I just did.
Yes, it is. It's almost like an instant app. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like it's like AI, you know what I'm saying? It just comes up with like a whole bunch of, I don't know if you played with AI and everything, but
Yeah.
um it's very instantaneous and it's coming out of nowhere. So if they
Mm.
can produce that, you know what I'm saying? If we can produce AI in this story anyway, imagine what is can seem to appear. It's like a shape-shifting stillness. It can appear as thoughts, it can appear as inside, it can appear as outside, although it's not there's nothing that's apart from it. It's very intelligent though, huh? And it's also very silent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah. And it's humbling. It's very, very humbling. Like, oh wow. I was at one point I was just sitting and I was like just going, wow, wow, wow. I did that this
Yeah. I
morning,
can see how.
actually. I actually did that this morning and I just went, wow, wow, wow. it's incredible. It's impossible. And
Yeah.
again words like impossible and incredible are it pales in comparison to what this is. It's grand and it's also humble.
Yeah, it's difficult to say what's going on, really.
Yeah, good.
I just had that thought the other day, or just uh, just recognizing or realizing, like there are thoughts, words coming, like spawning,
Yeah,
just words and images. Like
yeah,
that's crazy.
it is.
Why aren't people talking about this? I mean,
Because
that's almost magic.
it is magic, but because there's really no other people.
Yeah, that's one that I have a hard time, at least intellectually, to understand. It really seems like there are other people.
Of course, there's okay. We can say that there's other people. There's also no other people simultaneously in this dream reality or whatever you might want to call it. There's 8 billion people that seems to have their reality. But when you see that everything of all of this collapses when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all you
But when
have
you
the
wake up, it's
and,
back.
and it and the moment that you wake up, it's completely there again. Or kind of like with your experience, there was not even people anymore when just the leaves. You know what I'm saying? It's just what is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, when you can't, when you notice every thought as a thought,
Yeah.
then there aren't,
No thoughts.
then there's nothing else. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny, right? Because it no one talks about it, but if you look at the structure of words, everything is just made up by words. If the whole universe went mute and there's no more words and everything, it's unthinkable.
yep, it sure
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So it's almost like if you think of it, you can't really be sure that there's another because all you're basing it from is your thoughts. So for example, you can't jump into my thoughts and confirm that I'm here. I can't jump into your thoughts and confirm that you're real. There's only one thinker, and the thinker is not even there. It's just a thought.
But do you see it, again, this is all intellectual, but like, yeah, you can't be in my experience
Yeah.
and confirm that it exists.
Yeah.
But do you assume that it does? I mean,
So it's for me, it's the absence of me knowing anything. So it's coming from that seeming undeniability that when this was seen as just, imagined, dreamed up, so to speak, not really here, then everything that I see is also dreamed up and imagined, including you. And if we go a little bit further, what I'm really seeing is what is. What I'm really seeing is silence. What I'm really seeing is stillness appearing as Johan. And without any words, then there's really no you and I. If there's no thoughts, there's no separation really. You can only reason that there's separation in thoughts. You can also say that you can only reason that there's no separation in thoughts as well. So we don't really know what this is if in the absence of thoughts, because all that we can grasp is thoughts.
yeah, I see.
Yeah. So that's why, you know what I'm saying? The character respects like teachings and whatever, you know what I'm saying? But it's a moot point now. It has nothing to do with teachings. It has nothing to do with someone knowing anything. All I can give is in these meetings, is in this one-on-ones, is sincerity, that it's already the case. Not because of me knowing, it's the undeniable that if it's the case here already, it's also there because there's no here and there. The story can present itself as like, well, I'm not really sure yet, Emerson, but it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what I say. It already is. So it's almost like some people will call it like, oh shit. And this was just another thing that was undeniable, that I can't put it in words. And the closest is like, oh, Emerson's dead. It's like a ghost that comes, so, but once you figure it out that it's a ghost that has thoughts and ideas and everything, like a ghost in a machine, so to speak, right? Then it doesn't really matter. It's free already. It's already in peace.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, obviously the sense of self that I still have is self-perpetuating.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. And it's just another idea. What's the sense of self, really? What is that?
Yeah, good question. It's also funny when you say, like, I just had a moment of recognizing you as something that I just I mean, there's nothing really.
Yeah.
And the mind comes in.
Yeah.
And tries to say that it's very, I mean, that's, now you're going crazy. There's no one here and all that stuff.
And it's funny, right? People usually message me like a couple of months or weeks or whatever and say that, oh, Emerson, there's no Emerson. I'm like, yes, that's what I've been telling you. But it's not for you to believe. It's not for me to, it's just the undeniable that whatever is happening right now, let's go a little bit, direct here, right? Without knowing anything, this voice is coming out from nowhere. It's not really Emerson. What's hearing that over there, and this will sound crazy now, is not really Johan hearing this.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
But it's also rings true.
It does, I know. Not as a knowing, right? It's just like, it's almost like a reset button, like the factory setting. Is that unknowing? It's kind of like, oh. And then the all the apps come in, you know what I'm saying? The apps of knowing, the apps of belief, the apps of understanding, right?
Yeah.
And it takes over, so to speak, and it tries to create this imagery or this solidity in something that cannot be solidified. It creates diversions, and we'll say that, well, how do you know that? That's just this belief or whatever, right? So it's regardless actually of what is said here. That's why I say when I do my meetings, it doesn't matter what I say, right? There's a sincerity here that it's already the case. And there's certainly really no one choosing to believe that. But yet, you know what I'm saying? When what I usually hear from people is like, I didn't really believe that, when you keep on saying it's already the case, but it's not in what I believe. So it's almost like the phone got reset into the factory setting, and there's no apps in it, and it's just running fresh. You know what I'm saying? And then the apps start coming back again, the arts of belief and everything. But now that you know that it's an app, it's not really real. You know what I'm saying? It's like just intelligence appearing as whatever. Even when I said earlier that there's really no one talking here or no one listening there, that's just another story. It's just an app of words trying to explain something that cannot really be explained. But yet there is some truth in that. You know what I'm saying? Without the reason, without the logic, without the understanding, without the belief. Because if this is truly not separate, then who's listening and who's talking then?
That's a tough one to make sense of.
It doesn't. Don't worry.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is it cannot be conceptualized.
Yeah, no, that was clear yesterday.
Yeah.
I've also had the notion recently that or yeah, whatever word is suitable, that I shouldn't like normally I watch YouTube videos
Yeah.
for a couple of hours a day.
Yeah.
But this week there was just a feeling that that's just distractions, or that
It
just I
is.
just watch them to feel good.
It is. It is. It just perpetuates the seeking that there's something missing because there's going to be a point of comparison.
Yeah,
Then,
especially when like having watched hours and hours, there's nothing.
yeah.
It feels good to watch them, but there's nothing new really.
Yeah, no. It's the same thing over and over again. It feels like I'm doing the same meeting over and over again, just saying that it's always the case, always the case.
Yeah. Do you
There's
ever
just
get
different.
tired of just saying, "This is it"?
Not really.
Like,
I don't know. It's
wake up,
weird,
people.
right?
Come on.
And something always comes up, right? It's kind of like, and sometimes it does appear, like completely. It's almost like it's passionate. You know what I'm saying? It's like even talking to you right now. Saying it's not something that I dread. You know what I'm saying? It's because I used to dread talking in public or talking to. There's an introvert character here, right? That
Mm.
that is a learned extrovert, basically. Learn how to speak in public, learn how to do that. So yeah, when I do my meetings, I usually create a title. Now I don't even create a title; it just comes up, so that I just don't say the same thing over and over again, right? So I'll just put one sentence, and then I'll just go into a tangent or something about something, and then but there's an admission here, and that it's not coming from a place of knowledge.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not coming from a place of understanding. It's not coming from a place of position, although it will appear as coming from a place of knowing or understanding, you know, or position or whatever. And there's
Yeah.
really, and then just the joy of seeing, um, and this is just a story again. It's almost like when I was seeking, I wish I had a character that was like this character that basically just said it's already the case. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mm.
all sincerity. There's already no me. There's already no self or whatever you it doesn't matter what you think, so to speak. Because I used to get really frustrated at listening to these videos. It felt like a lot of gatekeeping,
Mm.
a lot of correction, a lot of instructions.
Yeah.
And it's like almost codependent because someone would have a nose. I just wanted someone to say that no one really knows about this, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yesterday evening again. Like I don't want to reference an experience over
that's
and
okay.
over, but
That's
yeah.
okay. I'm enjoying
But
it.
it felt like well, during the peaks of clarity, let's say,
Mhm.
everyone, like every YouTuber that at least claims to be enlightened or appears to be enlightened, felt so ordinary suddenly. There
It
was nothing
is.
special about
Bingo.
anyone.
Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
There's no more hierarchies, doesn't it? There's no one
Yeah, exactly.
more, there's no one less. There's no one that's speaking the truth and there's no one speaking the false.
Hmm.
It's just what is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just what
I've
it is.
also I've also noticed just like I try to follow my intuition more.
Yeah.
There seems to be just a knowing of right and wrong.
Yeah.
And whenever I follow that, it feels more right than if I don't follow it, you know?
Yeah. That could also appear, you know what I'm saying? There could be kind of like a sense, you know what I'm saying, of knowing what is.
Mm.
You don't even have to say it in any story at all. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's autonomous. There's not even
Yeah.
a chooser anymore. Yeah. It's just intuitively, it's almost like being in sync with what is, that it does what it does.
Mm.
And then what I liked about this as well is because I had a lot of guilt and shame from the past, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and because I kept on, I care a lot about people. You know, saying there's a lot of compassion for this character, at least. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it got into spirituality in the first place, because it really earnestly wanted to help out. So when
Mm.
I did the opposite, right, it killed me. Like I was crying every night, so to speak, and just depressed. When it seen that that was also innocence, meaning that it's not like a bypassing or anything, because I'm still saying sorries to some people, you know what I'm saying? But the innocence of that character of doing that, meaning that because I was questioning, I'm like, I thought I was a good person. And then the ugly head came out, you know what I'm saying? It reared in, so to speak, right? When it was all over the place.
Mm.
So the good and the bad seemingly collapsed as well. It doesn't do things bad anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's not there to harm anyone, so to speak. So it's just automatically a good person. But there's also nothing
Right.
wrong with a bad person, because that's automatically just a bad person.
Yeah.
And it's just labels anyway. Because if you look at a jungle, you know what I'm saying? It's there's really no good and bad. It's just what is. The lions will kill the ant, the ant, will kill the gazelles, you know what I'm saying? And will hunt it down, and then the elephants will stomp on the lions, if you know what I'm saying. It's just
Mm.
what seems to appear. It's almost like this wholeness that is playing like it's like this wholeness that has, trillions of appearances that seems to play with each other, but it's not there's not a source to it, so to speak, as well.
Mm.
Because to say that there's the source to it, then it implies that there is something separate that's doing all of this.
Mm. Yeah. It's interesting how we talk about shame and stuff. I feel like, well, actually, I feel like not a lot of ugly emotions, so to speak, come up for me. I think that's like I've been watching so many videos and people talk about like primal fear and all that stuff. I'm kind of waiting for that, but it never. I
Those
just
are
find
just
everything
ideas
interesting.
again. There's just ideas again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's again, you've seen this already. Like, like everyone that on the YouTube is just really basically saying blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really matter what they say, including the speaker.
Right.
The only thing that's holding some characters up, in their seeming idea of enlightenment, is that their idea of enlightenment is it's not about an idea.
Mm.
That's why I'll probably, that's why the way that I talk about this will probably never get popular, because it's like it demolishes all the belief systems, and I don't come a place of any expertise or anything. Just happy to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just talking directly to what is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. That was also clear
Yeah.
yesterday.
So the in the story, the apparent character will try to come up with a whole bunch of ideas. Um, they're all irrelevant. They're all irrelevant. And sometimes you notice that some speakers become really, really clear at a young age, and then all of a sudden it falls apart, and then they're selling some stuff now, you know.
Mm.
That's when they start believing that that there's a relevant thought that they have, and they fall apart, or they go, they get they get exposed as a fraud or something. um it happens quite a lot, right? Because they come from a place of knowing, which is also what is, by the way, but
But I mean, do you truly find that it's kind of funny if you, and I guess you do. I mean, you don't think you have anything to say, but
no.
you still say stuff that helps people in some way. So it's
and
something.
that's and that's the thing about it, right? Because I really claim that I don't know, what I'm saying? And these words, what I'm saying, is just clarifying that no one knows. And it's just
Mm.
I guess the earnestness comes through, the brutal honesty comes through, what I'm saying? And it's also, there's also again, this is just a story. There's also a lot of proof of it, what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that I do one-on-ones with, and they see the clarity of it. They're like,
Mm.
and there's no character here that's flip-flopping his message, basically selling kind of like chakra and everything, all that kind of stuff. It's already done, so there's nothing to do anymore. So it walks the talk, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's just authenticity, really. When I was a spiritual teacher, I felt like, well, I was lying most of the time. What I'm saying? Because I really thought that I knew what I was talking about. In the beginning, I really was being truthful and everything. But when everything started, kind of like when I saw all the cracks in the spiritual teachings, I was like, and that's why I couldn't do it at one point, right? I was just kind of like, I would go drink sometimes at night because the guiltiness was coming in. I'm like, there's no lineage, and I'm hearing about some of the scandals of the gurus and everything. I came in it really, really naive. You know what I'm saying? And then, the more that I looked at it, the uglier that it got. And then I saw that I was just mimicking a lot of what the gurus were doing. Really, is just, being up in a position that I know something. But
Yeah.
also midway through it, I'm like, shit, I don't know anything. So the clarity was coming in, and it's not a good happening for a teacher, because it makes
Mm.
you irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here, at least, I admit that I'm irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah. I feel like authenticity is like what I've always searched for.
yeah, yeah. And the character Johan, what I'm saying? You know what? It's not about dropping that character, because there's no really Johan, but the Johan character is just going to be authentic as it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just the authenticity of that character.
Mm.
And there's nothing wrong or right about authenticity. And it's not about being a cookie cutter non-duality speaker or teacher.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, like I said, when there was some kind of clarity, there really was no interest in, I mean, there's interest in transmitting whatever I'm experiencing, but the words, there are no words.
Yeah,
Like I can't talk to
yeah,
anyone about it,
yeah.
which
It
is
it took me
so
a while,
yeah.
actually, to talk about this, because I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. I didn't want to repeat what happened
Mm.
before, right? And that was just really painful. It did more harm than good.
Mm.
But somehow I was a host, you know what I'm saying, for I was just on the sideline, basically. I really like this, because I'm like, oh, finally something that really is just, it's just really liberating, you know what I'm saying? For characters, it's not like they get trapped in this nonstop seeking kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like the end of the road, so to speak, right? So um I just want to hold up a sign. I'm like, okay, this is it. You can turn around now. It's back to normal kind of thing. It's nothing really
Mm.
special here. And I was just hosting, and then I was doing, people started talking to me from Greece, or maybe because they wanted to get closer to the big speaker, so to speak, of non-duality. So they were, and some of them, a lot of them, actually started kind of like glimpsing and everything. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And they kept on suggesting, goes, why don't you start speaking? Because you're really relatable, and you speak your own authentic way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And so there's a lot of hesitation. I'm like, nah. I even had an interview with someone, and I said flat out, I'm like, that will never happen. I'm not going to be a speaker. And somehow, one of these speakers could not make it, and all of a sudden I was speaking, and the rest is history, so to speak, right? And I think I've done maybe over 200, and majority of them, end the seeking,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's just a story anyway, you know what I'm saying? Or they circle back, they go back to whatever, they don't believe what I'm saying, because it's too good to be true that it's already the case. You know what I'm saying? So they go back
Right.
seeking again, and they usually end up back. They're like, okay, I've tried everyone again, Emerson. I'm so sorry. Let's or they avoid the one-on-ones. They avoid the one-on-ones, right? They'll just communicate back and forth because they're
Mm.
afraid of what is already,
I mean,
that it's nothing special, that it's not like your any idea of what it is, but it's beyond that. It's beyond that. It's like winning the biggest lottery ever, but when the price comes, it's you can't collect it because there's no one to collect it.
yeah.
But
Oh,
but but you stop playing the lottery now because you've won
mm.
it already. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, it doesn't really have a price, but the price that happens is that neurotic gambling on trying to win that jackpot ends. So when you
Yeah.
get the jackpot, there's no jackpot really. It's just it's almost like it's but that addiction and that neurosis, you know, crumbles. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I feel like that analogy really captures the feeling of it.
yeah. And that's why it's anticlimactic, because you're like, when I collect the prize, you're like, well, the price is that there's
Yeah.
nothing to win. There's nothing to gain. It already is. There's no jackpot.
Mm.
But some teachers or some, get deluded that they won the jackpot, and they try to teach people how to win the jackpot. But it always leads to suffering because there's really no jackpot.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they pretend that they've won the jackpot. But it becomes a show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll take no jackpot. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it was the same. I was like, I I I don't even want to tell anyone about this. I don't even want to tell my old spiritual community, because for my
Mm.
spiritual community, if I declared it, this would have been like, it would have vindicated, the character, and he would have kind of like said, "Oh my goodness, yes, Emerson," that kind of thing. But I didn't need a pat on the back anymore, and that
Yeah.
was enough. The contentment of that, right?
Mm.
I didn't have a name or a legacy to fix.
Oh man, everything is just an interesting ride. That's what it feels like.
It is, yeah, but you're not even driving it.
Mm. Which makes it even more interesting in a way.
It does. It is, right. For quite a while, I thought I was in control of the show.
I feel in control right now.
What's that?
I feel in control right now.
You feel the control right now?
Yeah.
But who's
But I
controlling
won't.
it?
But I
Yeah,
won't in a few minutes after the call when I go back to stillness.
that's just another thought. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It appears as whatever it is, right? So
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah, it just appears as what it is, no matter what it is, right? So, and
Mm.
there's no control. Like if there was a control of this, so to speak, right? I would not even be speaking. Not that I don't like it and everything like that, right? But it was just the most unlikely thing that this character would do, is to step into the spotlight again, saying, so to speak. I
Mm.
was actually happy when I was more underground. I was like, no one knows me, that kind of thing. But I love doing this. Um, but um, but there's contention to this as well. That now that it's now that I'm getting people that books one-on-ones as well, right? It's okay too. It's good.
Mm.
Saying there's just joy in it, and there's peace in no matter what, and also there's no attachment if this doesn't work anymore, kind of thing, or if it ends, or if I have to take care of my mom more now, if I have to be full-time caretaker, it's
Mm.
also what is, right? So, and that's the jackpot that doesn't have a price. Is everything becomes a price now.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
even those mundane little things like walking,
Mm.
like or you don't even have to brag to your friends. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's and I can
Right.
laugh at the character Emerson now. I'm like, because before, when I have a friend that she's wonderful, but she's a jokester. She's the kind of person that I've hung out since high school. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So she knows all of the dirty details of Emerson. So she sees that, I was, and but she supported, what I'm saying, like all throughout, spirituality and everything. But she knows that there's a goofy character here that's a clumsy, funny character, right? So when she sees the post, on Instagram, she's like laughing. She's like, "What do you mean? What is what is what is?" And then she'll just, and I laugh with her now, and I laugh with her now. It's no more kind of like, because I also laugh at it. You know what I'm saying? It's also the absurdity. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm in the joke now, not the joke anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the better side of it, I guess.
Yeah, that's just a story.
Yeah. All right. Before we end, you live in Montreal, right?
In Toronto.
Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind then. 'Cause I lived in Montreal for a year,
Oh,
but
whereabouts?
in the
I love
south part,
Montreal.
in Snowdon, if you know that
Okay,
part.
okay. Have you
Yeah, I
been
went to
to
the
how often? Okay, I'll stop the recording now. Just a second.